Alright, so just before the video, I would like to apologize if my voice maybe sounds a little scratchy, if I have to clear my throat sometimes. I'm just getting over a cold, so it's a little bit difficult. And also, warning, and this is important, this deck, if played, will more than likely not win you a game against someone with a competitive deck. I personally believe that it has a chance, but it is intended mostly for casual players, such as myself, to have some fun. With that said, please enjoy the video.
Ronin XXO.
What is up, everybody? It is I, Ronin, and today I'm coming at you with another deck profile for Exodia, the Forbidden One himself. So, this is going to be exciting, because if you don't know, here's a little bit of history on him, just in case you don't know. He was actually the first ever insta-win condition in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, more came out later, but I don't know, he was always just the most interesting. He continues to get surprisingly relevant support today, just in general. And this is just my own take on it, so let's get started. Alright, so our first monsters are obviously going to be the 5 pieces of Exodia, the Forbidden One. Just in case you do not know, having all 5 pieces in your hand wins you the game. Now that ability is actually the ability of the head. The other 4 pieces, the arms and the legs, are level 1 spellcasters with 200 attack, 300 defense, and they are normal monsters, which is actually a large thing that I played on with this deck. Our next monster is Battle Fader. Now, Battle Fader is cool because it is a hand trap, but not in the sense that you're probably thinking. What it does is, when your opponent attacks you directly, you can special summon it in the battle phase. It's very nice just to stop some damage, and considering that this deck doesn't do a whole lot of normal summoning, or summoning in general, except for maybe a few things every now and then, it's a very nice card just to save yourself some pain. And for the rest of your monsters, it's going to be all level 1 normal monsters. Mostly because that's what the deck's built around, that's sort of what the engine is, and there's just a few things that I'm going to get into later that make level 1 normal monsters just ideal, I suppose. So, honestly, just pick any of your preference, whatever you want. It's all you, man. Go ahead. Alright, so our first spell card is going to be 1 for 1, and what it does is by discarding a monster from your hand, you can special summon a level 1 from your hand or deck. Now this is very nice because this deck is very reliant on sending the Exodia pieces to the graveyard or getting them on the field, then bouncing them back to your hand as a way to get to the 5 that you need, rather than just drawing into them or a hyper draw engine. So this is good for building up your field or your graveyard, essential to the deck, and making it more efficient. Our next spell is the normal spell, Where Art Thou? And it is very, very cool, and one of the cards that you would need for the situation where you would actually need to summon. So basically is, if you control a level 1 monster on your field, you can search one level 1 from your deck, add it to your hand, but if you don't normal summon it during your turn, you get hit with 2,000 during the end phase. Now, that's a hefty price to pay, but it's basically paying 2,000 life points for any piece of Exodia, and you can get the level 1 off the field, just sub it in for a Link Karibo, really any Link 1 monster that you could think of. So it's free Exodia pieces. That's really nice. Okay, and the next spell is Foolish Burial. Now, everyone knows what Foolish Burial is, but just in case you don't, send 1 monster from your deck to the graveyard. Like I said earlier, this deck is very bounce focused from the graveyard and from the field, so this is just a nice way to build up your graveyard a bit so you can make those big explosive Exodia plays later on in the game. Next up is our first real bounce card, which is the Dark Factory of Mass Production. Now what it does is you can add any 2 normal monsters from your graveyard to your hand upon activation. So if you've been sending pieces of Exodia to your graveyard, and it's pretty easy to do that, you just Activate that, boom, that's 2 more pieces right there, all ready to go. Alright, so next up we have the spell Enchanting Fitting Room. So you pay 800 life points, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, special summon any level 2 or lower, or level 3 or lower normal monster from among them. So this is really good considering how many normal monsters and how low level everything is. You can basically summon any monster you hit outside of the head of Exodia. And that's really nice because there's ways to bounce, like I said, there are ways to bounce from the field. So if you get Exodia pieces, you can bring them back. If you don't, then that's just an actual defense for you, and that's kind of nice. Especially with this deck, seeing as there's so little real summoning going on. Alright, and rounding out our spell cards, we have the continuous spell, Heart of the Underdog. And what it does is, during your draw phase, if you drew a normal monster, you can reveal it to your opponent, just draw again. And this is really nice considering that the majority of Exodia and this deck are normal monsters. It's just ways to keep drawing. The only possible way you brick is if you hit a spell or trap or the head of Exodia. And considering that the head is the only thing in this deck that is not searchable, it's very, very nice if you can draw into that early. Okay, so now we are at our first trap, which is negate attack, and what it does is it stops a attack on activation and it ends the battle phase. Like I said, this deck you're not going to be battling much, so it's better just to end the battle phase rather than get any sort of destruction or shuffling going on, because there's always ways that people can combo into more monsters possibly. And destruction, don't want them to set up their graveyard, so negate attack is honestly just the best option, I felt like, when building this. Okay, so next we have Sound the Retreat, and this is where Enchanting Fitting Room kinda comes into play. So say you activate Enchanting Fitting Room, you got 4 pieces of Exodia, sick. You got like the ideal thing. Then, if you have this set, you can just activate it, bounce those back to your hand, and if the head's there, you win. If not, you just have to worry about drawing into the head. It's just generally a nice thing to have, honestly. It works well with the deck. Nothing more to say about it, really. Alright, next up we have a very important trap in the form of First Aid Squad. What it does is you activate it, target a normal monster in your graveyard, add it back to your hand. And it has a very nice effect as well that when a normal monster is destroyed, you can special summon it as a normal monster to your field, not treated as a trap, by the way, even though it is a trap. So it's not vulnerable to MSTs, Twin Twisters, all of that stuff. Honestly, it's just generally good. It provides you some actual defense. It provides you, well, not an actual defense. It is defense, but it's not really that great, but it's defense. And it lets you add things back to your hand from the graveyard. Maybe a Exodia piece. So, I mean, just very important card, essential to this build. Okay, and now for our last trap, we have Drowning Mirror Force. So, when your opponent declares a direct attack, you shuffle all their attack position monsters into their deck. It's just some non-destruction removal. It can get rid of some really big threats to you. You know, just those massive boss monsters that can't be targeted, can't be destroyed. So, it's just really nice considering that you're not often going to have monsters on your field, really. And it's just another defensive option, so I don't know, it's nice, but it can really be substituted for any of the other mirror forces if you want to. This is just the one that I preferred to put in. Okay, so I'm going to open this by saying that the extra deck is not an important part of this. It's very nice for supporty kind of stuff, a little bit of defense, maybe have something on the field, but the extra deck is not the focus of this. But that being said, let's go ahead and look at it with our first extra deck monster, Link Karibo, and its ability is, when your opponent declares an attack, tribute him to 0 out to change that monster's attack to 0, and you can special summon it from the graveyard by tributing a level 1 on your field. And its condition is 1 level 1 monster, so this way, with the majority of any monster in your deck, you can just quickly summon a Link Karibo, have a little bit of battle defense, maybe can weirdly run over something if you have to. Not sure why you would use it like that, but I suppose you can. Okay, so our next monster is Link Spider, and it's one normal monster to summon it. And just once per turn, whatever zone it's pointing to, you can special summon a level 4 lower normal monster to that zone. So it's not really important, but it is nice if you're really breaking hard and you just need to summon something to defend yourself. So I mean, it's alright, not super important to the deck, but it helps out. Now, our last extra deck monster and monster in the deck is going to be Sylvan Princess Sprite. It's 2 level 1 monsters to summon it, and by using an overlay unit you get to excavate the top card of your deck, and if it's a spell or trap, it goes to your hand. If it's anything else, you send it to the graveyard. It has another effect, but not really playing with plants. Unless you want to play with plants, you can. I mean, I guess I'll go over it just in case. You can send one other plant-type monster from your hand to the graveyard, or your field to the graveyard. Then target one Sylvan monster in your graveyard, special summon it once per turn. You can only use the effect of that once per turn. So it's alright for a Sylvan deck. But in the case of this, its ability becomes a free draw, or if it's a monster, sending it to the graveyard. And that benefits if it's a Exodia piece, benefits if it's just a regular monster, because you're getting rid of things that you don't need. Honestly, it's just good, and the fact that it actually has a decent attack value, especially for a rank 1 monster, is very nice. Alright, here is just a deck list. Take a look at what you want, take pictures. I'll leave it up for a second. Just in case you want to build this, maybe make modifications to it. So, leave that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, so this has been Ronin. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want me to do any duels, if you want me to profile any decks, let me know in the comments below, or message me on Twitter. I have that now. It's really exciting. But anyways, just let me know if there's any way even I can improve this deck, improve what I'm doing. Honestly, just let me know. I want some feedback right now. Anyways, this has been Ronin, signing off.